Before we begin recounting the events of the following war, if you're someone who enjoys history and the stories of soldiers and battles that changed the world, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the events we cover here. And share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever served in the military, or do you wish you could experience what it's like to serve? Your opinions mean a lot to us and help us build a true community of history enthusiasts. The night sky over occupied France, 1943, was silent, too silent for a war that never slept. Lieutenant Arthur Hawk Mercer, a British intelligence officer in his late 20s, crouched in the back of a low-flying C-47 aircraft. His mission was clear, yet impossible: infiltrate a German command base deep in the Loire Valley and extract a codebook known as the Black Ledger. It wasn't just any codebook. It contained every planned Nazi counterintelligence operation in Western Europe, names, locations, and double agents. If it fell into the wrong hands, the entire Allied spy network in France would collapse. But there was something else no one in London knew. Hawk had a personal reason for accepting this suicide mission. Among the German officers stationed in that base was Major Wilhelm Adler, the man responsible for the ambush that killed Hawk's brother 2 years earlier. Revenge and duty had collided inside him ever since. Now, as the plane neared its drop zone, Hawk whispered to himself, "For Michael and for England." He parachuted into the darkness at 02:17 a.m. The field below was slick with dew, and in the distance, he could hear the faint sound of a train, German supply convoys still running under curfew. Hawk quickly buried his parachute and made his way to the safe house in the nearby village of St. Clair. The woman waiting inside was Claudette Moreau, a French resistance operative with a calm voice and sharp eyes. She looked at him for a moment before saying softly, "London sends ghosts now. You don't look like the living." He smirked. "Maybe I'm not." Claudette handed him forged documents, a German uniform, and a cigarette. "The Black Ledger," she said, "is kept inside the villa of Colonel Erich Voss. Guard rotations every 4 hours, but the colonel has a mistress." "Let me guess," Hawk said, "you know her." Claudette's silence was his answer. She had once worked in that same villa as a maid before joining the resistance. She knew every hall, every guard, every secret passage. That night, under the disguise of Hauptmann Adler, a fabricated German officer identity, Hawk entered the villa posing as an officer from Berlin sent to review logistics. The guards saluted without suspicion. But as he stepped into the marble corridor, he froze. Hanging on the wall was a photograph of Major Wilhelm Adler, his brother's killer, smiling with Colonel Voss and several other officers. And standing next to him was Claudette. The image was dated 1 year before. His pulse quickened. Had she betrayed the resistance, or was her story part of something far deeper? Hawk moved through the villa with perfect calm, but his mind raced. Every shadow seemed alive. Every whisper behind the walls carried the scent of treachery. At 03:09 a.m., he found the colonel's office. Inside a locked safe was a black leather-bound ledger, exactly as described, but beside it lay something unexpected, a file marked Operation Foxglove. It was stamped with both the Nazi eagle and the British crown. Before he could process what that meant, the faint click of a pistol echoed from behind him. He turned slowly and found Claudette standing in the doorway, gun trembling in her hands. "I told you," she said in a whisper that cracked the air. "London sends ghosts, but not all of them come back." For a moment, neither of them moved. The dim candlelight flickered across Claudette's face, revealing fear, but not guilt. Her hands trembled, yet her eyes were sharp, unflinching. Lieutenant Mercer Hawk slowly lowered his weapon. "If you're going to shoot me," he said quietly, "do it before the next patrol passes by. Otherwise, they'll shoot us both." She hesitated. Then, with a deep breath, she locked the office door and whispered, "You don't understand what you've stumbled into." Hawk took a step closer, his gaze fixed on the folder marked Operation Foxglove. "Then help me understand," he said. Claudette's eyes darted toward the window, as if expecting someone to be listening. "That file," she said, "isn't German, it's British." He frowned. "Impossible." She shook her head. "It's not. Operation Foxglove was designed by British intelligence, your people. It was a double-agent network. The plan was to feed the Germans half-truths about Allied movements, but someone changed it. Someone started using it to eliminate both sides, spies, officers, even resistance members." Hawk's blood ran cold. "You're saying it's being used as a kill list?" Claudette nodded. "And your name, Lieutenant Mercer, is next." He opened the file. Inside were pages of coded reports and photographs, some of them taken in London, others in France. Every operative he'd ever worked with was listed. Many had red X marks beside their names. His brother Michael's name was there too. Next to it, neutralized, Operation Success. His knees nearly gave out. "My brother was killed in a crossfire ambush." Claudette's voice broke. "No, he was executed by order of your own command because he discovered the truth." The room felt suddenly smaller, the air heavier. Hawk looked at her, anger and disbelief twisting his face. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I tried," she said. "The resistance knew. We intercepted British transmissions months ago, but by then the operation had already turned on us." He slammed the file shut, breathing hard. "Then who's running it now?" She met his gaze, her voice trembling. "The man you came to kill, Major Wilhelm Adler. He isn't just a German officer. He's the bridge between both sides, the one who controls Foxglove." Before he could respond, they heard boots echoing in the hall. German voices, close, shouting orders. Someone had discovered the broken lock downstairs. Claudette grabbed the ledger and file, shoving them into a satchel. "We have to move, now." They slipped through a hidden servant passage behind the bookshelves just as two soldiers burst into the office. The corridor beyond was narrow and pitch dark, smelling of dust and old wood. "Where does this lead?" Hawk whispered. "To the wine cellar," she replied, "and then out through the western garden. But we won't make it far unless you trust me." "I stopped trusting anyone an hour ago," he muttered. They reached the cellar just as the alarms began blaring above. Spotlights swept across the estate, dogs barking, engines roaring to life. The German soldiers were tearing through every room. Claudette pressed her hand against a section of the wall, revealing a hidden hatch. "There's a drainage tunnel beneath this. It leads to the river." They dropped into knee-high water and ran. The tunnel twisted like a serpent beneath the earth, the sound of distant shouts echoing behind them. At last they emerged into the forest under the moonlight, breathless, soaked, and alive for now. Hawk turned to her, his voice hard. "If what you say is true, if the British command created Foxglove, then this war isn't just fought with guns. It's fought with lies." Claudette's eyes glistened. "Welcome to the real war, Lieutenant, the one no one ever writes about." As they disappeared into the dark woods, the sirens from the villa faded behind them. But in the shadows beyond the trees, unseen figures were already moving, following their trail. And one of them carried a radio, whispering into it in perfect English. "The fox has left the den. Repeat, target is alive. Proceed with phase 2. The forest was alive with sound, rain on the leaves, boots crunching on mud, the distant rumble of trucks. Hawk and Claudette moved silently through the blackness, every instinct honed, every breath measured. They'd been running for hours, hunted by both German patrols and, as it now seemed, British operatives. Enemies on both sides. And somewhere in between, the truth. By dawn, they reached an abandoned farmhouse overlooking the Loire River. The windows were shattered, the barn half collapsed. Inside, Claudette lit a small lantern and spread the stolen files across a table. The black ledger contained code names, cipher keys, and strange signatures, all tied to Foxglove. But one name appeared again and again. "C. Ashcroft." Hawk froze. He knew that name. "Colonel Charles Ashcroft," he whispered. "My commanding officer in London. He sent me here." Claudette's expression hardened. "Then you were never meant to survive this mission." Hawk sat in silence, piecing it all together. Foxglove wasn't just a double-agent operation. It was a weapon, a self-sustaining network that eliminated anyone who got too close to uncovering its secrets. And now, the man who created it was at the top of British intelligence. "Adler must have been working for him," Hawk muttered. "Ashcroft feeds him names, spies, officers, resistance, and Adler cleans the field." Claudette leaned closer. But why? What could Britain gain from killing its own agents? He looked at her, his jaw tightening. Control. In war, intelligence is power. Whoever controls the truth, it controls everything. That night, they made contact with a resistance radio operator. Through static and broken transmission, they learned that Major Adler was planning to flee France in 2 days, taking the entire Foxglove archive with him to Berlin. If he succeeded, hundreds of Allied agents across Europe would be exposed and executed. There was only one chance to stop him. A train was leaving St. Clair at midnight, carrying a disguised convoy of officers bound for Germany. And at the top of the passenger list, Major Wilhelm Adler. Hawk checked his watch. "We'll intercept the train at the river bridge," he said. Claudette nodded, eyes gleaming with resolve. "Then we end this for your brother, for everyone they used." The next night, under heavy rain, they reached the bridge, a steel monster spanning the swollen river. The train's distant whistle echoed through the fog. They split up. Claudette rigged explosives beneath the support beams while Hawk climbed onto the bridge itself, slipping aboard the train as it slowed. He moved from car to car, silent as a shadow, until he reached the first-class cabin. There, seated calmly with a glass of cognac, was Major Adler. "Lieutenant Mercer," Adler said without turning around. "I was wondering when the ghost would come for me." Hawk raised his pistol. "You killed my brother." Adler smiled faintly. "No, your country did. I just followed orders. Foxglove needed a sacrifice, one that would make you loyal enough to finish the job." "What job?" Hawk demanded. Adler turned, his pale eyes cold. "The same one you're doing right now, erasing the evidence. Ashcroft doesn't want me alive any more than he wants you." Before Hawk could respond, the train jolted. An explosion thundered through the bridge. Flames erupted outside. The convoy derailed, cars twisting like serpents of metal and fire. Adler lunged for his weapon, but Hawk fired first. One shot, then another. Adler fell, his blood mixing with shattered glass. The ledger slipped from his hand, pages scattering into the wind. Hawk stumbled from the wreckage to the bridge's edge, coughing through smoke. Claudette was waiting, bruised but alive. She reached for his hand, but before she could speak, headlights appeared on the far bank. British trucks. Not German. Not rescue. A voice shouted through a megaphone. "Lieutenant Mercer, this is Colonel Ashcroft. Stand down. You've done your duty. We'll take it from here." Hawk's eyes narrowed. He came himself. Claudette's grip tightened. "Arthur, if you go to him, you'll never leave this place." He looked at her, at the burning train, at the torn file clutched in his hand. Then he said quietly, "No, I'll finish it my way." He walked into the headlights, unarmed, the rain washing soot from his face. Ashcroft stepped forward, older, calm, dressed impeccably even in the mud. "You were one of my best, Hawk," he said, "but you should have never looked behind the curtain." Hawk dropped the half-burned ledger at his feet. "You built this machine. You fed it lives. My brother's, hers, mine." Ashcroft smiled faintly. "History is written by the survivors, son." Hawk looked back toward the bridge, then pulled a small detonator from his coat. "You're right," he said. "And this is how I'll be remembered." He pressed the trigger. The rest of the bridge erupted in flame, swallowing the trucks, the files, and every trace of Foxglove. Epilogue. A year later, as peace settled over Europe, a sealed envelope arrived at the British Embassy in Paris. Inside was a single photograph of a woman by the Loire River, Claudette, standing beside a grave marked only with the initials. A.M. the ghost of Foxglove. Pinned to the photo was a note in her handwriting. "He didn't die for revenge. He died to end the lies."